Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of District Divided. I am Ahmed Singh. Joining me, the usual suspects. I got Matt Regan, LC Lautaro Cabrera, Spencer Brudig, and Kadeen Wiggins, a.k.a. K-Dot. It's good to see you all again. We had a pretty fun episode for you guys last week, and we got another good one for you where we got a lot of topics to cover. The Washington Capitals are on fire on the ice right now, so we're going to talk about them. The NBA trade deadline just passed. We'll talk a little bit about it. The Wizards made a move, but we're also going to talk about why the Wizards are so amazing against really good teams and then terrible against the rest of the NBA. Of course, we're going to talk about March Madness. Matt's Michigan Wolverines. We are a Michigan podcast. In the Sweet 16, we're going to break down their matchup with Florida State. The Hoyas did not do so well. The Terps did marginally better. So we're going to chat about them a little bit. And then we are also going to talk about the Washington football team. Dan Snyder, after all this publicity, looks like he's going to be the full owner of the team. And this time we are actually going to talk about each and every one of these topics. Guys, last week we said we were going to talk about New England free agency. Never touched it. Never touched it. What a tease. So this week we're going to get it right. But we begin this week with shrimp tails. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Is that the sequel to DuckTales?
That's what I thought at first.
It's a terrible sequel.
Did it need a sequel?
I just want to kick this off, honestly, as a big CTC guy, big CT Crunch guy myself.
I thought you were about to say CTE guy.
Dude, there's an
CTC,
acronym.
let me tell you, when we went camping, we were not allowed to eat sugary cereals growing up. When we went camping, though, we would get the small packs, like the 10-pack, and my sisters and I would barter. Like, they'd break the pack open, we'd dive on them. And I remember trading, like a cornflakes and a whatever, the Count Chocula for a CT Crunch, because that was my cereal. As a consumer, as a deep fan of CT Crunch, I can for sure say those were shrimp tails. There is no debate.
Yeah,
they were trying to say, they made this statement saying, like sometimes sugar and the cinnamon can cluster up. No.
Okay.
You can clearly see the exoskeleton.
But was it? I think there's no debate that it was shrimp tails. I think we're all in agreement there. But was it a prop? Was it staged? Was it some sort of I don't know? Was it some sort of move by Kellogg's?
No.
Boost Frosted Flakes.
No, because General Mills loves this.
Specifically said, that guy said, this is not a bit. Like, I'm not joking here. Now, he could absolutely be lying. Who knows?
He got someone to test it. Like, he's gonna send it to some lab.
Yeah,
it's in the process.
There's
a
DNA sample coming back to see if it's actually a shrimp tail or not. Like, this is insane. I then looked for it, and we don't know the result yet, but we are waiting. America is waiting.
I'm just gonna say this before we move on to a Type C previewed. Best combo: mixing half Cinnamon Toast Crunch, half Golden Grams. Don't knock till you try it, but it's a great combo.
Yeah.
I've never had Cinnamon Toast Crunch in my life.
Oh,
never.
I'm with you.
I've never had it.
I'm not a big cereal
guy.
I'm not even a big cereal guy, but I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
No, it sounds good, but I see all the fast food restaurants are hopping on doing their version of Cinnamon Toasted Crunch shrimp, like dusted shrimp, which is a thing, I guess, now. I know Hooters is now about to start selling the shit. Maybe get John Gruden to do a better job cooking the house on the grill. So anything else. I mean, we'll see.
So you never had. So what's your Kadeen? What's your number one cereal?
I don't know if this is good or bad because anytime I say it, I feel like I sound like an 80-year-old white man.
It's gonna be bad.
It's Honey Bunches of Oats.
That's a good call. I like
Honey Bunches of Oats to me.
It's the number one.
It's my number one seed. But here's another thing: I don't like milk, so I will just throw it in a Ziploc bag and just chew it on my way to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
okay.
And that's how you know it's a bad take.
I mean, I thought
he's
you
a
were
fucking psychopath, and he picks it as number one.
How do you not have
Raisin
milk?
Bran? Raisin Bran, I feel like I should get it, or Total. One of those ones.
Yeah,
just
fiber.
Total.
Yeah,
Fiber One.
Great brand, Grape Seed. Is that what it is? What's the brand? Is that no? But
Raisin
Bran. Raisin Bran's pretty tasty.
No, it absolutely is.
I'm
I'm not past the. Okay, first off, never had Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I think that's a bit. The other thing is Honey Bunches of Oats totally fine with it, but then he says no milk. He's just been all over the place. Kadeen has had one hell of a start to this.
I mean, I'll say this.
Don't get me started on the milk thing.
I'm not a cereal
monopoly.
person. I have not bought a box cereal in probably 10 years.
I can't believe it's my job to reel you guys in. Go ahead.
But like, if I had to, I was gifted for my birthday some cereal by a buddy as like an inside joke. But it's been a while. But that being said, I would say number one for sure, still Lucky Charms from back in the day, and then Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's probably up there. Frosted Flakes. So,
Cocoa Puffs.
So maybe it's a different philosophy where like
Bro,
I don't have
you
that
get
often.
chocolate milk at the end of it. Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, and Cookie Crisp, which how is that even a cereal?
It is unnatural to drink the milk of another animal.
Okay, that is true. That is true.
All right, we are about to move on. Last thing, no one mentioned Reese's Puffs. Reese's Puffs are an incredible cereal.
So they figure out how to put candy in your cereal bowl? Yeah, I get it. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's all cereal is. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about the Washington Capitals. That's something we did not do last week. The Washington Caps have been on a roll recently. They are currently in second place in the East Division. The top four make it to the playoffs. And didn't I say they've been on a roll recently? Now, the Buffalo Sabres are also in the East Division. They're on a, 15-game losing streak or something like that? So we can thank them, but so can the whole division, and we still find ourselves in second place. Matt, I'm going to begin with you. Is this definitely a playoff team?
There are no absolutes in sports, but the Washington Capitals are a playoff team. I was a little bit worried about this team preseason. I just thought it was such a tough division. It still is a very good division with really probably 6 teams that could vie for those 4 spots. But this is going to be a playoff team. They're the best team in the division, right? They're outplaying really the other, when I gave a preview before the season, I said it's the Caps, it's Boston. I thought Philly was the 3rd best team. They're the team that has the most question answer. I think they're in 6th place right now. But the Caps look great. Islanders are running hot right now. They've got a few concerns that they need to fix up. But I really like where the Caps are at. Ovechkin caught fire. Evgeny Kuznetsov had a really tough start to the season. Now not aligned with Ovechkin, playing some good 5-on-5 hockey. Caps fans, don't worry about his points too much. He's not playing as much in the power play as normal. So that's probably why his overall points are down. The goalie situation, Ilya Samsonov coming back from injury, that's good news. His numbers aren't amazing this year, but I think that's all in all good news, and I think they're going to get back and figure it out. So I like where the Caps are at. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be in contention. It's another standard years for Caps fans, which is a good thing in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I would also say, so right now, as well as the Caps are doing, the Tampa Bay Lightning seem to be far and away the best team in hockey at the moment, but you never know in playoff hockey, as we have learned ourselves, during our title run, during our Stanley Cup run just a few years back. These Washington Capitals are real. Like Matt said, Alex Ovechkin on a roll. If our games in hand, if we win those, we're in first place in the East, just like that. Now, going back to the Buffalo Sabres, the Pittsburgh Penguins get to play them 5 more times. The Boston Bruins get to play them 6 more times. So when you normalize the schedule, when you saber the schedule, it's really tight, but we still are essentially the first place team, and I really like where we're at right now.
How many times do they play each other? That's a lot.
Well, this in the NHL, it's just one because they're not playing cross division, so you only play within your division.
Oh, is this a COVID?
Yeah, so for COVID. Everyone,
I see,
exactly.
I see.
So
I only watch sports with even numbers of periods, so I haven't watched hockey in a while.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, it eliminates basically only hockey.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for Buffalo. You got to feel. Yeah, you got to follow. I don't watch baseball. You got to feel for Buffalo fans. It's a great fan base. They always have them. You can see it in Bills Nation. It's the same people jumping through, like tables for Sabres. But you got to feel like they made some big moves in the offseason, and they suck. They suck. I've never seen a team that sucks as bad. And I've been a Wings fan that got 47 points last year, knocked out the playoffs before COVID even hit. So they suck. Jack Eichel's going to get traded. That being said, he's going to come back at the end of the year. He's a top 10 player in the league. He'll probably boost them up, hopefully, for Caps fans' sakes. They don't become that easy. They cannot possibly be this easy of a win. Right? On paper, I thought they could have been in playoff contention this year. You have cursed franchises in different sports, and you would say the Sabres are one of those. And they're terrible. They are so bad. I have not seen a team this bad post I don't know, lockout in 2004. They suck.
Yeah, this is easily one of the worst runs any NHL team is ever.
Considering that they are actually not that bad on paper, it's unbelievable how underperforming they are.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So once again, look for your Caps to continue to do really well, and look for them to be, there are no absolutes in sports, as Matt had mentioned, look for them to be a playoff team. Now, let's move on more to the national stage. And Matt, this may as well be your show today because we are beginning with March Madness and our Michigan Wolverines. Round of applause. Sweet 16 bound. Did a lot better than Ohio State, who statistically, according to Matt Regan last episode, ass. Go ahead, Elsie.
I had to pull some strings with my friends in Ohio so that we could get the dentist bowl happen, and then Colgate didn't do their part. Like that's not an Ohio State.
Oh, we're talking about the men's tournament because when you said like you got into the Sweet 16, I was about to break out into All-American Center, talk about our outside shooting. I thought we were talking about the women's team because they also made the Sweet 16 for Michigan. You might as well name the entire month after us. We got the 2 seed in the NCAA hockey tournament. Just every team into the Sweet 16, men's, women's hockey. Let's just rename the month. It's January, February, Michigan.
Unfortunately, none of those teams are going to win at all.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they ever do.
Gotta go all the way.
What?
How many men's championships? Men's. Let's just stick to men for the time being. Basketball championships. How many?
1. 1989, led by Glenn Rice.
Not bad. I can't even say that much with Georgetown. And speaking of the Georgetown Hoyas, hey, round of applause. They turned it on in the Big East tournament, and then facing the buzzsaw that is the Pac-12, who apparently are just full of superhumans, and no one knows because everyone falls asleep before the West Coast plays basketball. The Pac-12 is so good. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But also, round of applause to the Maryland Terrapins, who beat UConn, who beat my Final Four team, UConn, and then got slaughtered.
They did.
Absolutely slaughtered by an Alabama team that just shot the lights out. I don't think there was anything Maryland could have done about that even. It was just bad matchup against a hot team shooting threes all day. Unfortunate. But going to our Michigan Wolverines, more specifically Matt's Michigan Wolverines, how do you feel? They play in the Sweet 16 against Florida State. How are you feeling about that matchup with a potential matchup with Alabama that we just discussed or UCLA?
Yeah, I'm not even really that worried about Alabama right now. I think there was a lot of talk about the LSU game, and we can talk about that a little bit. I was not that nervous about LSU, even when they got up early. I was texting during the game and saying, they're playing hero ball. They got some good players. Cam Thomas got hot early, but you can one stat says it all. The score is, I think, 82-74. I think that was the final. 78. 8 assists on 23 field goals for LSU, 22 assists on 28 field goals for Michigan. That's team basketball. That's sustainable. That's going to carry us out. Florida State, they play good team ball. Leonard Hamilton, big time. He's a big time coach. I think, when we talk about all the big coaches in college basketball, he needs to start getting mentioned. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Florida State, little tidbit here, 3 straight Sweet 16s. All right. That's only bested by Gonzaga and the University of Michigan. But they're a big time program. We need to talk about them. Are they a basketball school now? Maybe he's right up there. So I think they're a well coached team. They have a potential top 5 pick coming off the bench. I'd have to bad podcasting. I have to come up with his name. But
so they have a guy named Scotty Barnes who ends up playing small forward. He starts. He's a gamer. And Florida State.
He came off the bench last game.
Florida State lengthwise are just freaks of nature. They're swamp creatures, right? Like 1 to 5, they're all very lengthy. They play a good zone. They can play man as well. And they can match up 1 through 5. They can switch no problem. It's going to be a very interesting matchup with the Michigan Wolverines, who are playing great team ball. I was texting Matt, Eli Brooks should have shot everything. That guy was on fire in the first half. And then all of a sudden,
Chaundi Brown gets hot. So we're a balanced team. I don't think we're that deep. We don't have 8, 9 players deep, especially with Isaiah Livers out, but we are balanced. Franz, who really hasn't been that great this tournament, if he's not having a hot night. I thought Hunter Dickinson was also great. Didn't put up a ton of points, but caught the ball. Offense focused on him. He moved the ball, inside, outside. Great ball. But yeah, like I said, I think Florida State is also a well-coached team. Up for a revenge game 2018. We beat them in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. Not a big deal. Ended up going to the finals against smacked by Villanova by 25 points. I honestly, when I say like this, I think Michigan right now is playing kind of like a 2-3 seed. And that's based on Isaiah Livers being out and, Big Ten really not being that good. So every game's going to be a coin toss, maybe a little bit in our favor. I'm just, we're in the Sweet 16. You're not going to have guarantees at this point. I'm excited for it. I'm proud of this team. They're playing well. They were down by 8, didn't even care. Keep playing. Juwan Howard, Coach of the Year. Love this team. I'm excited for Sunday.
So real quick, because a week from now, we're going to be doing another episode of District Divided, and the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 would have already happened. Is Michigan in the Final Four? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely the favorites in their group to go. So they're there. Oh, by the way, Kadeen, you owe me an apology and some money. You owe me some money. Kind of an apology. Who else? Who else on this podcast is sorry? I want to know. I want to hear apologies from these sorry people on this podcast.
You ain't getting shit from me except that $1.
All right.
Well, hey, listen. And Matt, I feel like I did what I needed to do. That sounded suggestive. I did say sorry over the weekend. When LSU played Hero Ball, I thought they had the more talented players, and I think they did. But like you said, Hero Ball, they didn't play as a team. It was 2 guys led by Cam Thomas, and it just didn't work out. Now, one team I did want to talk about, and Elsie referenced it a bit earlier, the Dentist Bowl was so close to happening. Colgate actually gave Arkansas one hell of a scare in the round of 64. But you know who gave a real scare and still are? Oral Roberts. They ended up beating the Ohio State University, who were now
by 3 points.
Home. Both games by 3 points. They then go on and go, you know what? Screw it. Let's take out Florida too. The only person that has taken out Florida and Ohio State better than Oral Roberts, Urban Meyer in football with his health issues. Oral Roberts is on a tear right now. Elsie, talk to me a little bit about that magical run so far.
Look, I think if you are a stats person and you're drawing a line, right? They won the first game by 3 points. They won the second game by 3 points. The only possible explanation is that they will win the next game by 3 points. I think there's just no doubt. So it could be 10-7. It could be 140-137. But they're going to win by 3 points. I think the math checks out.
Do they have Big Shot Bob on their team?
Everyone's thinking it.
Everyone's thinking it.
There's nothing like referencing a character from a podcast we didn't release.
I know. Well, hey, listen, you got to listen to everything, Bob. Even the stuff we don't release. For those that don't know, Big Shot Bob is a individual who purely fictitious, automatically gets you 3 points a game, and no more or no less than 3 points per game. Oral Roberts keeps winning by 3 points a game. Elsie, how far do Oral Roberts go? They play Arkansas and then potentially Baylor or Villanova.
My dream would be for them to just beat Michigan in the finals.
I might take that at this point. I would take that. I would take a loss in the finals, I think.
So Oral Roberts, you'd lose your mind.
Dude, that would be the Cinderella.
But that would mean probably beating Gonzaga in the semis.
Can anybody tell me who Oral Roberts was?
No. Oh, we don't want to talk about that.
They don't
want to talk about
that. Wait, Kadeen. Trivia time. What state is Oral Roberts in?
Oh, shit. Oh. We talked about it last week, and I don't remember.
I think not in the pod. I think we talked about it.
I think we talked about it.
All right, you've got 3 seconds.
Nebraska.
Close.
No, that's Creighton. Creighton's in Nebraska. I think it's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I think they're in Tulsa. I think they're in Tulsa, but I'm not.
Okay, I'm gonna read you all something. I'm gonna have a add on to that trivia. So Oral Roberts was an American charismatic Christian televangelist. He is considered the godfather of the charismatic movement. Now, question: so where was he born? Where was he born, and where did he die?
He was born in Berlin. He died in Lima, Ohio. Am I right?
Lima. He was born in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Made a lot of money apparently, and died in Newport Beach, California. So,
wow.
Oh, it was only a few thousand miles off. Not too bad.
Figured it out.
Sold out for sure.
All right, so we've discussed Michigan. We've discussed Oral Roberts. Now, I want to take a quick moment before we move on to shout out the Pac-12 and to say to the media, what the hell have you been doing all season? You have one job. It's to inform us, the people, that the NCAA seeding committee screwed up. The Pac-12 are 9-1 in this tournament. They're winning on average by double digits. Number 11, UCLA, took care of business against Michigan State in the play-in game. Then they took care of business against BYU. Then they beat Abilene Christian, the darling that beat Texas. Oregon had VCU had COVID issues. Oregon was rusty, hadn't played in a week plus. All of a sudden, they beat Iowa by 15, 95-80. USC beat Kansas by 34 points, 85-51. That was the easiest game of the tournament, and USC was actually an underdog, supposedly. The winner of Oregon-USC is going to play Gonzaga. I think that's going to be a very fun game. Whoever gets the opportunity to play against Gonzaga, I'm not saying they're going to knock them off, but the way the Pac-12 has been underestimated so far, I am very, very excited for that Elite Eight game.
You're assuming they're going to be Nebraska's Creighton?
Creighton, yes. I've seen enough of them. I don't think they can shoot with Gonzaga. I think USC provides a lot of length issues for Gonzaga. I don't know if they'll win. Oregon can shoot with Gonzaga. So they're two different styles. It's going to be really, really neat to see. But the tournament's been great so far. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah?
I find it really interesting, yeah.
Big theoretical question, though. What if UCLA would have had Sharif O'Neal, who was signed with them as Shaquille's son, and wouldn't LiAngelo Ball still technically could be on the UCLA team if he had not stolen that object in China?
I think Lonzo could still be on the team if he didn't declare, right? Wouldn't he be like a senior this year?
Yeah, you're right. He definitely could be.
Well, this is one hell of a game we're playing if we're just letting all people stay.
Couldn't Kareem still give minutes for him?
In that case,
if graduation was suspended for him.
Kentucky's in the tournament and they win. Now, let's stay on the court and let's talk about the Washington Wizards. The most maddening team on the planet. They are 15-27. That is good for 13th place in the Eastern Conference. The question is, will they even make the playoffs? But here's the thing about them, okay? When they play against top-tier opposition, we're talking about the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, we're talking about the Utah Jazz, Brooklyn Nets. They are 6-1 against Western Conference teams above 600, above a 60% win percentage. What does that mean? To me, it says that the coaching is really bad because then they lose to all these other teams like the Knicks and the Kings. Sorry, right. Spencer, taking advantage of it while he seems to be away. But they keep losing to bad teams. LC, what is going on with this?
I don't know if it's coaching. I mean, yes, it could be coaching, but okay, they're both related. It's obviously like a mental thing, right? Like you have the talent to beat these teams, therefore you should have the talent to beat the lower teams. Not that the standings, like sometimes matchups are a little bit weird, but when it happens this often, it's a pattern. Like it's not just like, oh, you had a bad night or whatever. And so, yes, the coaching has to be related to how they prepare and how they play these games. But I mean, to me, it's just another symptom of something the Wizards have had forever, which is inconsistency. Like the difference that you have in one Wizards season between a week and the next week, it's just insane. Like there's no consistency in how they play. And I think that's like one of the qualities of both great players and great teams. It's just being able to bring it every night, especially in a league that's 82 freaking games for the season, right? Like you need to have the ability to just turn it on and bring it, no matter who's in front of you, no matter whether you're playing at home, away on a 5 away game streak or whatever, you have to be able to bring it. And I feel like the Wizards just have had that inconsistent issue for a very long time. It's just another show of it, right? Like a few weeks ago, they had won 5 games in a row playing away, very hard teams. It's just another case of inconsistency.
Yeah, it seems like Jason Tatum sweat. So the Celtics beat the Wizards 110-109. About a month ago or
remember
so.
That, yeah.
Yeah, and Bradley Beal slips on Jason Tatum sweat after he makes a pretty ridiculous reverse layup. Since then, nothing. I don't know what has happened. They had won 2 or 3 in a row before that. It looked like they were turning their season around. He slips. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, the Wizards have slipped. And I don't know what it is. To me, I think it's coaching. I think it's Scott Brooks. He's had plenty of time to work this out. He now gets Russell Westbrook, a guy he trusts, and a guy, Russell Westbrook, he in turn trusts Scott Brooks. But it's clearly not working. It's been frustration built up in this fan base for quite some time. The Atlanta Hawks let go of their coach. Next thing you know, they're on an 8-game win streak. I know that Scott Brooks is out of contract at the end of this season. I would strongly consider letting him go right now just to see the potential of this team and see if they can go on a bit of a run because clearly they can hang with any other team, right? Any top-tier team in the league. So let's see what this team is about because that better informs your decisions in the offseason as well. I think it is time to let Scott Brooks go, even though they're just 2 months left. because I want to see what this team's about. And I feel like I see it against the really good teams, and against the really bad teams, they look disinterested.
Who's available for coaching? Would you try to poach somebody?
Yeah, well, so I mean, off the top of my head right now, no. There are a number of assistants I'd be interested in.
Sure.
Wes Unseld Jr., so his father being a Wizards, well, it's great. I would be interested in him. There is also, the idea of Becky Hammon is intriguing to me, just as like not only a storyline, but like a Popovich disciple, right? Yeah. Like, look,
every player that has had her has spoken like the absolute best of her.
1 year in the G League, she won it. So to me, like, look, people think gender. Can a woman do it? Yes. Absolutely. Oh,
she's got to be the first one, no matter what. No matter where she ends up, she's got to be the first female.
Absolutely.
100%. I would love if we picked her up as a coach. And by the way, just speaking of women for a moment, I failed to mention this last time. Round of applause for the Maryland women. Okay. Man. Sweet 16 bound. There you go. Repping LC.
But they won the first game. They won scoring 98 points. They were like, we can do better. Second game, they score 100. So again, if you connect the dots, next game, it's got to be 102, baby.
They just keep rising. I don't understand how any team can be favored over them. They put up way too many points. I mean, it is going to be really neat to see.
And they have some very versatile players, like that. They have some really strong players that can do everything, like rebound, pass, shoot.
See if they can slow down Naz Hillman, All-American center Naz Hillman.
Oh, are you talking about Michigan, the team they beat by 30 like earlier this year? I'm not concerned.
Earlier this year. Yeah, remember January, February, Michigan. No, let's play now.
Way to ruin a good thing.
Kissing his ass. This
not even people in Michigan say that.
I don't know how you guys haven't all jumped on the Michigan bandwagon. I make our school so likable.
The Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team for sure, but the Maryland women score way too much. Ashley Owusu is a star. Katie Benzon just runs point perfectly. She's so good. She doesn't need to shoot, but when she does, greater than 50% from three. Mimi Collins is a stud. Ashley Reese off the bench. Are you kidding me? This team is loaded. I failed to mention 3-4 other people because they just are that deep. The Maryland women.
You can name them now. Name them now.
Okay, fine. So let me go from the top. Ashley Owusu. Okay.
She's I was most impressed by her.
I would say this. Maryland, obviously the better program, but still proud of the Michigan women's team. Highest seed we've ever gotten, 6 seed. First time ever making the Sweet 16. Shout out Coach Kim Barnes-Arico, putting our program on the map. We've gotten better each year, starting NIT winning, making the tournament, keep going. So, hey, props there. You know what? Hey, we're still underdogs, but, an upset over 3-seed over powerhouse Tennessee. I feel like when we think of women's basketball in the collegiate program, we think of UConn and Tennessee. Hey, that's a big movement for this program. I feel like we're playing with house money going forward.
Real quick, just one final shout out to the Maryland women. They are averaging the most points per game between the men and women combined in any single season at 91.5 points per game.
And this is the highest scoring offense in Maryland's history. And the previous ones were like in the 70s, or I think.
Yeah.
Anyone scored willy-nilly.
Oh, and also just the highest scoring college basketball offense, period. Now,
on fire. Sporting Goods hooking up their weight room after the NCAA.
God, that was insane.
Okay, let's quickly talk about that. That was insane. First off, shout out to Sedona Prince, right? The player from Oregon for just highlighting that. Sure. And then the NCAA came out and said it was a space issue. And in the same damn TikTok, she comes out and shows the space. There's plenty of space.
A warehouse.
Oh,
it's amazing. It's amazing to me how companies, and I will call the NCAA a company. It's amazing to me how companies are like so tone deaf, and like in an era where like people can with the phone show everything. Like they try to get away with the stupidest stuff. Like just I don't understand. You don't think anybody's gonna like complain online?
No. People are gonna complain, but I think people are still just gonna watch.
It doesn't matter.
Ultimately, like you can look at it. I mean, you can say the same things about FIFA in Qatar. Like, LC, you're still gonna watch the World Cup. You know what I mean? So it's you do have to maybe question some things as a consumer, but obviously we're only can we really do it by turning off the TV? No, but like it's so funny because like I'm so hypocritical that like I will talk shit about the NCAA. And yet I will still be their biggest patron by tuning in every single day, buying Michigan shit. So, Am I really that critical of FIFA and the NCAA?
You're a captive consumer.
Guys, I'm just going to take advantage of this moment because that is a perfectly smooth transition to the Washington football team. But before we get there, because Dan Snyder looks like he's going to take complete ownership, let's talk about something a bit happier. Spencer has been kind enough to offer up a restaurant review. Spencer, what restaurant are you reviewing?
Well, it's a huge transition away from our heated sports debate, but I've got a twofer. I'm going to keep it super short. I recently moved into Mount Pleasant, and let me tell you, a delightful pizza company is Martha Deer. It is a pizza place run by a couple. I think they have day jobs. They only do these pizzas Wednesday through Saturday. You have to jump on at noon in order to get one. They're sold out. They only make 50 pies a night. They made a sourdough starter right during COVID, and they are literally baking the sourdough starter into their crusts every night. And the reason why I say it's a twofer is because right above them is Mount Desert Ice Cream. So you can go on over to Martha Deer, get yourself a delicious sourdough pizza, and then walk up the steps and grab some banging ice cream. It is so good. The best vegan ice cream I've ever had in my entire life. Peanut butter, oat milk, or almond milk ice cream. It is so good. I would give Martha Deer an 8.5 out of 10. It's not the best pizza you're ever going to have, but it is a very solid option. But it's super hyped right now. I almost feel bad about turning more people on to them because they're sold out within about an hour. So noon, Wednesday through Saturday, get yourself a Martha Deer pizza.
Martha Deer pizza.
That's
now, real quick, first off, I'm definitely going to try it now. That sounds incredible. Now, here's the question. So, you got your Michelin stars. Now, we got some Brudig stars over here.
Oh, heck.
What's the scale? So, you did 8.5 out of 10, but let's say it was at a 4 or 5. What are you giving it there?
I think that if we're going to stick to the Michelin star where you can have a maximum of 3, this would be a 1-star Brudig Michelin rated restaurant. So it's
that's really good.
Solid. It's got to be tough to get on that. And now they're on it. They're a 1-star. I have yet to experience a 2 or 3-star here in DC. Give me some time, and we'll develop this bit on the show.
Fair.
All right, you heard it here. Martha Deer Pizza, 1 Brudig star out of 3,
which is harder than Michelin, by the way.
Yeah, that is significantly harder.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he said it was good, and then we gave him the scale where it's set up to not really pump it up that much.
But the standard of Brudig stars, it's the 3 stars.
It's up here, boys.
Look,
Washingtonians will realize that the Brudig star is equivalent to 2 Marion berries. Okay, so he's got 2.
We love our Marion berries here.
2 Marion berries.
Yeah.
Dude, when I was in Argentina, the grading system is 1 through 10 in school, and they'll tell you 10 is for God, 9 is for the professor. So maybe you can get an 8.
Where does Maradona come in there, Elsie?
10. There's candles.
11.
Just said God is 10.
Yeah, God is 10, and God is Diego. Therefore, Diego is 10. That's a philosophy 101.
It's not even Diego is God. It's God is Diego. Which, by the way, is a very big distinction. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to the Washington football team. Kadeen, I have to throw this to you. This is crazy. So, just for those that don't know, there has been a lot of heat on Dan Snyder over the past year or so. It has resulted in a name change. It has resulted in a black president. It is, black president for the Washington football team. Just realized that sounded a bit ambiguous. But larger amounts of diversity in the workplace for the Washington football team, both gender and race. Things have been going in the right direction. Now, there was still increasing amounts of heat as we went. We are now at the point where it sounds like Dan Snyder is going to take full and complete control of the Washington football team. He was already at greater than 50%. He's going to get closer to 95%, if I remember correctly. Kadeen, talk to me. Is this good news or bad news?
How dare you even question me on that? You phrased the question that way? Is it good news or bad news? Oh my God. It's the worst goddamn news ever. It's just, it's the biggest cock tease in the history of sports if you're a Washington football team fan. It's ridiculous. Look, we've gone through the last 2 years now of nothing but hell with this organization. And then we finally get to a point where it's kind of all right, well, he looks Teflon until finally last year, right? It's all right, Washington Post is coming after him. We know Jeff Bezos is in charge of the Washington Post. We know Jeff Bezos got money. We know Jeff Bezos is building an Amazon facility in Crystal City. Like, we know it, and it's starting a lot of, the minority partners are doing this, that. And everybody's kind of, you're sitting there as a Washington football team fan, kind of like, all right, we don't trust it. We're not going to say anything to it. But you know what? It looks like we might get something out of this. Or at least you'll be in a position where his power he can release the grip off of just a little bit. Then coming off the heels of this sexual assault, whatever, investigation, you have the NFL clears the way for him to carry the amount of debt that he needs to then become pretty much 100% owner of this football team. So it's the worst possible scenario in the sense that we thought that maybe there was some light at the end of the tunnel. We could get rid of this asshole. And now he's just more powerful. How the fuck does that happen?
Insane.
Is this better or worse than you guys signing Fitzpatrick?
Wow.
just incendiary.
It's not worth a response. But I will say, this might be the most demoralizing news I've heard as far as this football team goes.
I want to know a little bit more about what is this debt buyout thing? Like, I haven't read fully what that means. So are they forgiving debt so that he can do this? Like, what's happening?
So my understanding is that the NFL allows you to carry but so much debt. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be an NFL franchise owner, especially when it comes to finances, when it comes to the team, they don't want anybody to just be able to own a team and say that, hey, we have X amount of money that we're going to owe. You got to have enough liquid assets to know that you can run the franchise.
Gotcha.
So for them, they're saying, hey, whatever that limit is that we usually have for people that you can't carry that debt, Dan, we love you just enough and we know you're okay. We're just going to forgive that for you so you can take this majority ownership.
Kadeem, do you know, like, is there any inkling into why this would have, like, politically happened? Because it really does seem, as the NFL, you would think that they would just dump him.
Want to get rid of him.
I mean, there are so many billionaires, right? I mean, there are a lot of them. Anyone could slot in there. Any tech money could slot in there. Bezos could slot in there. There are people locally that could slot in there, even like groups of people. And my question was, as soon as I read that news, it was like, why politically would the NFL want this? I would think that they would want anyone else in control of Washington football team.
But what's the limit? I mean, the thing is with Washington, if you're looking at any other time period, why now to cut ties with Dan? Really? Like, I mean, they've been there carrying the water for this asshole for the last 20-something years. I mean, every story that comes out of Washington, you wait to hear maybe there's going to be this call of the owners to kind of get on this guy. Maybe there's going to be that moment that you have with, like, the Carolina owner and Richardson or anything, that you're going to have guys basically say, hey, we're not backing this dude anymore. He's too powerful. Like, if you're looking at the friends that he has within the other NFL owners,
that's the key right there, though, right? If you
got Dan, you've got Jerry, maybe Robert Kraft to a lesser extent, and then we're looking at the Mars up in New York. If you get a combination like 2 or 3 of those guys on the same page anywhere, you're not going to stop that.
Well, there's not a single diverse owner in all of the NFL, right?
Not at all.
It's all white men. And
Shad Khan, and for Jacksonville,
right?
If I could just jump in real
Sheila
quick.
Ford is a woman.
Sure.
For the Lions. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's taking new control. I think we're actually going to go to big places. Watch out. Watch out 2023. 2023. I'm just saying 2020. I'm not saying now. Just wait. But I'm not. This is about the Washington football team.
Listen, we know this as well as anybody. The default sports fan, when we're going to be good, is always 2 years later. It's always 2 years later, and it's almost never right. But to answer your question, Spencer, I just wanted to chime in. Guys, the NFL politically doesn't matter. To me, it's way too big to fail. You're going to play fantasy football. If you don't, your friend will. I know I watch every single Sunday. I love watching the NFL. The problem is that these owners can do whatever the hell they want to do because they know that, right? So when it comes to Dan Snyder here, it doesn't matter what he does. It has to be even more egregious than these sexual harassment claims. It has to be even more egregious than deforesting a national park. These are the things. It has to be even more egregious, and it almost never is, because here's the other thing. It's a boys' club, okay? It is a boys' club. If Dan Snyder goes down for this, who knows what these other owners are doing, right? Who knows what axes there are to grind by these journalists that can then suddenly take down a whole lot. So they are protecting themselves in this. But I just wanted to say, as a fan, so look, politically, unfortunately, it doesn't matter. But as a fan, this should matter to you a lot. Yeah. This should matter to you a whole lot, because here are the teams. Since Dan Snyder has taken over and bought the team in 1999, here are the teams from the NFC that have gone to just the NFC Championship game, not even the divisional round, just the NFC Championship game, the semifinal. St. Louis Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles, 5 so far, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers. Guess what? The fucking LA Rams, they moved back to LA and made it before we did. That is 12, 13 different teams that have made it because old habits, die hard. Dan Snyder has an amazing way to meddle in situations where he shouldn't. Marty Schottenheimer was 6-2 on the tail end of that season, on just the one season he coached, turning things around. Snyder didn't like him. Gone. Vinny Serrato, his boy, GM, we were terrible for years. The only reason he left is because there was some bad PR on him. Enter Bruce Allen. Guys, it's the same thing over and over and over. The only reason we changed the name is because of PR. The only reason we got the diversity we got is because of PR. Once this stuff blows over, we're going to get Danny Boy right back in there.
And Snyder is he's only 56 years old. So they legitimately could have another 30 years.
This is where the rest of our lives, pretty much, he's going to be on this football team. But on that, just a stat that just shows you where this franchise has gone. In the 22 years before Dan was owner, 3 Super Bowls, 5 NFC championship games, won 4. In the 22 years since he's had ownership, 0-0-0. It's That's terrible. Insane. And it also sucks that you have an organization that's actually doing everything the right way when it comes to the personnel that they're picking up and things like that. But then you also know it's all bullshit.
Yeah. It sucks to have to keep looking over your shoulder, right? Like things are finally going well, but you have to look at the guy who can never be fired, right? And it's been proven, right? Because now his ownership stake has increased even more. But I digress. I believe Kadeen digresses as well. That's going to wrap it up this week, guys, for District Divided. Once again, I am Amit Singh. That is LC Lautaro Cabrera. We got Kadeen Wiggins, K-Dot. We got Spencer Brudig, and we got Matthew Regan, Mr. Michigan himself, who will literally talk only about Michigan, as you can tell. But thank you guys so much for listening. And real quick, we never said it, but the Wizards did make a small trade. They ended up giving Mo Wagner and Troy Brown Jr., shout out Troy Brown Jr. because he was a first-round pick just a few years ago, to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Daniel Gafford, who torched us a little bit. So I think fans are a little excited about that. Get the rim protector, and Chandler Hutchinson, who was a first-round pick himself in 2018. That's going to conclude it here, folks. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed week. And we will see you guys next week. Take it easy.
See ya.
This computer. We are now recording. Are you shitting me, Spencer?
That's a cold open right there.
That is incredible.